everyone. We want to welcome you today to the We Are Flora Pearl podcast. I am your host, Latasha J. Humphrey, founder of the Flora Pearl Foundation Incorporated. I am super pumped to get into this podcast today. But before we get started, we want to let our audience know that this podcast is being brought to you by the Flora Pearl Foundation, where our vision is bridging the gap, building a legacy. Our mission is that we are a 501c3 community-focused nonprofit mentoring organization, building healthy relationships and partnerships between women and girls through education, community service, networking, unification, and career planning. Our inspiration is Flora Pearl Humphrey. She was my paternal grandmother, and what she taught me was about faith, family, and community. And that is where I draw my inspiration from. Now, audience, I have the pleasure of introducing to you one of my sister friends who I've known for over 20 years now. She is one of the hardest working women that I know, from raising a family to being an entrepreneur to working and really creating several lines of income. Just since I've known her, she truly has a story of a testament of perseverance and also still standing no matter the situation. So without further ado, I present to you Tamika Edwards. Hi, Tamika. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Excellent. It's such an honor for you to be with us today. And so, if you would, just briefly go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, Tasha, it's an honor to be able to tell my part of the story. Thank you for having me on. I am a single mother of 3 and a newly grandmother. And I've worked for Hilton Reservations, work at home, and I'm also a hairstylist. And I've been working as a hairstylist for over 20 years.
Whoa.
And I have a son that's 24, 16 now, and a 9-year-old daughter.
That sounds great to me. Well, congratulations, because I didn't know about the new grandbaby. So so that's always good, though. They got the little people. So you get your hand in that grandmama role. So that's what's up.
Yeah, she is. Actually, she'll be 4 months tomorrow.
Oh, well, congratulations again. That's super cool. You're welcome. And so we want to go ahead and jump right into the podcast. And the first topic we want to talk about is entrepreneurship. And, just like you just shared, you've been a hairstylist for over 20 years. And yeah, I just remember you doing it, and with you, I always knew Tamika, she's going to have not only this stream of income, this is what you're doing, but you were going to have other jobs. If you had to create jobs, it's almost like you was a little American Jamaican type person. So it's so funny, but that entrepreneur spirit, you definitely were an encouragement to me, whether you even know that or not. You really inspired me when I just really just watched and saw just different things that you did and just how you paved the way, for a lot of people that you may not know is even watching you. And so I know that being an entrepreneur is not easy. And I wanted you to share, 3 things that have helped you to persevere when you were facing challenging times, and pretty much when everything and everyone around you told you to go ahead and give up.
The number one and foremost thing was the fact that being raised by a single mother, my mom, and knowing that my grandmother had me grounded in church. And my faith in God, with my father being absent at that time when I was younger, it allowed me to trust in God at a young age. And even though the girls around me used to tell me about things that they did and their fathers or whatever, mine wasn't physically there, but spiritually he was. And I can recall just always talking to him and depending on him and asking his approval of this and that and the other. And, throughout experiences, I realized that sometimes when I get out of his, out of his realm, and things don't go right, I was like, oh God, Dad, I didn't ask permission. I didn't ask you your permission. What you think about that, to run that by you? So I have to go back and check the situation and then go back and do it again. And, as far as like even going into the hair industry, I remember praying about it and asking God if it was something that I could do, and blessing me to be able to do it. And he did. He opened the door where I can get a job at nighttime to be able to still support my son and take care of home or whatever, and go to school for hair in the daytime, and that's what I did. And even though it took some time away from my son, as I got older, I learned some things about when you have the faith that I have in God, then I have to trust in him completely, that he will take care of me and my son. And it just, as I got older, the maturity, when it kicked in as far as experience, made me go back and remember the situations that I had where I had to go back and have a talk to God and about, the things that happened when it wasn't going right. If I went to, even when I went to certain shops, if I wasn't finding myself being productive, then I was like, well, I moved, and I thought I was in a better shop, but it's like I never did consult God. And even getting a little bit older, just knowing that my kids, I'm starting to have a family, and they depend on me to raise them. And so the family part of my experience made me also depend more on God, and just pulling myself back in and knowing that I got to stay where God needs me to be for them as well.
Wow. Okay. And just in talking about that too, I wanted to know, just kind of thinking about the term support system, because even with that, it seems like you definitely have provided that for your children in a lot of ways. And how do you feel when you hear that word support system? What does that mean to you?
Everyone around me.
Okay, like everyone connected.
When I say that, even as when you say support system, it made me think about my granddaughter, right?
Yeah.
My son and her mom, they're working in the daytime, and I started working from home, and I tried to kind of be there for them because I was working from home, and I was building my schedule around her. But I realized that even though I was building my schedule around her, I couldn't do it. So I have a lady that I was talking to about some situations where my granddaughter was having some colickiness or whatever. But anyway, she was like, hey, if you ever need me, to keep her, I'm here. I love babies. And, I resorted to the next week after she talked to me, and I realized it was a little bit too much for me. I contacted her and let her know, hey, I need you. And then, so on Fridays, I do hair, and my clients are there. And my clients, even though I have my granddaughter on Fridays, they're there to help pick up and help. They'll feed her, they'll, console her, whatever. So when you say support system, when I say everyone around me that's willing to help, they may not help in a lot of ways that they know, but I appreciate everyone that's around me. I really do.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, definitely goes without saying that you definitely believe in them. And so, with our organization, of course, we're building healthy relationships and partnerships between women and girls, and specializing that particular relationship with mothers and daughters is kind of one of the key ones that stands out. And so I wanted to know if you could share, how can we create effective and efficient support systems for women and girls? How can we do an even better job?
Take an interest. That's one thing, other than in ourselves and what they have going on, and not so much of what is it that we want them to do all the time. And if it's something that they want to do, sometimes you have to find out what it is, why they want to do it, and try to be inspiring to them, in helping them achieve what it is that some of the girls wanted to do. I hear my daughter all the time saying that I'm trying to make her be something that it's not so much that I'm trying to make her be something she's not. I'm trying to change. What she says, I'm trying to change her, and that for coming from my daughter, she don't realize how powerful her words are.
Yeah.
And it makes me look at her and say, why do you think I'm trying to change you? And in a sense, you want to accept the children for who they are. And one thing I had to learn is meeting people where they are and not trying to make them do what I want them to do.
Yeah.
Or because sometimes as people, we want, even girls, we want them to be a certain way and carry themselves a certain way. And that's right. That's what our upbringing was about. But understanding them, and then we allow them to understand where we are, because we can't. One thing I feel like where we fail at is we can't treat these millennium kids the way that we were taught or treated.
Right.
Because we were taught to do as I say and not as I do.
Yes.
Well, now it's not that way, or whatever the case. So you have to be really careful of the words that you say. You have to be careful of the things that you do. And if you expect certain things from them, you have to be able to relate to them. And that's all that they're lacking now is relation. And I think that's a lot of what the girls need is relation, somebody to show and take time out with them and show them they're interested in what they're wanting out of life.
You know what, Tamika, that's so awesome. And just like we had talked, I know we were talking about you getting the book. And one of the chapters, one of the keys, because it's 7 keys. And so one of the keys, and it's key 2. Look, it talks about loving her right where she is. And that says a lot about what you're saying. Just even it's amazing that seriously is it starts with self-love, but then it says the second one is loving her right where she is. And all of what you said, that's what I talked about as it relates to how I was brought up, and I say even our generation, just like you said, but it was that. It wasn't and even if you wanted to voice it on certain stuff, it's almost like you were deterred not to, because it may not have been received in previous times. I would get to a point where I would just I just go along with whatever it is, because if I voice something, it may not be received, in the best way. And it's kind of, just being able to accept them where they are. And just like your baby said, not trying. And I've had to learn how to not do that and consciously make a decision to say that I'm not going to do it that way. So it's amazing that you brought that up, in the same way that, like I said, with the book. So that's awesome. And I want,
it's important.
I mean, it really is more than we, really think, but with the support system with that, thank you for sharing that, because what I heard you saying a lot was, it's the communication, it's relationship. It is getting to know where they are and what they desire and not what we desire for them. So those are very, very good pearls of wisdom as it relates to support systems. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And I wanted to ask, as it relates to move to the topic called Culture Vibes, and as it relates to women of color. And so, big brands, I heard a statement that talks about big brands, are willing to profit from women of color without standing up for them. And I wanted to ask you, do you agree with that statement?
That they're not willing to stand?
No, that basically they're willing to profit from women of color without standing up for them.
That's true.
Okay.
And you should stand up for them. I do believe that big corporations should, because we're talking about a lot of the women are out there and they're profiting off of us in some type of way, whether it's using their product or something in some type of way, even with us working for those corporations. and I feel they should stand up for women, and as far as that goes, because it actually, I don't think they realize that, you know, you have a younger generation that's looking at what they're doing, and when I don't think they're looking at as far as making the younger generation believe in, having them believe in not so much of the product, but that someone else believes in them and what they stand for. So I definitely, when they had this thing, what was it, Dove soap situation?
Uh-huh.
You know, that I just felt like that was a situation that was swept under the rug. Instead of them making a bold statement about an apology on something they should have done, you know, and to get, you know, the confidence of people again, because these corporations actually, you know, you lose confidence in them, and it's just ever changing, you know. I don't know. That's one of those touchy situations, topics that, you know, when they come out, and, you know, I shake my head too, and you know, it's just hard to even express how it makes me feel on the inside as a person.
Yeah. And I know, you know, I mean, definitely we have a lot of buying power. And what we're really trying to do, even as it relates to, you know, Flora Pearl, you know, the Flora Pearl Foundation, is really teaching the next generation about having owning power. Because I'm like, sometimes the you know, I think about the song by Michael Jackson. He said, you know, you start with the man in the mirror. And so where I may want somebody else to do a certain thing or change or whatever the case may be, or whatever's going on outside of me, really it'll start with me. And so I wanted to know, you know, how do you believe we can continue to make strides to prepare the next generations? Like, say these companies don't just change on their own. How do we then prepare the next generations that's coming after us to know more about that owning power?
Well, to me, it starts at home. Teaching our kids the things that they're capable of, just, you know, and capable of doing, and taking advantage of every opportunity, educational wise, and learning about different things, and implementing. I mean, even in their lives, their young lives now, as far as saving money, being able to know how to spend money, how to save money, and what I was telling you about as far as taking an interest in what they have going on, because that gives them confidence that they'll be able to be one of those big corporations as well. But it's got to start at home, and what we're teaching them and exposing them to, being able to expose them to financial things when it comes to corporations, how they make money, and even if it was another, like just for selling popsicles to their friends or candy to their friends, knowing that they understand what they're doing, and they can grow into something bigger.
Okay. And I wanted you to share a little bit. What are some things that you've done with your children when you just talked about even the finance part? Because I know, you know, with you, definitely with budgeting and different things like that, Miko, you have I mean, I know you probably say within yourself, you're like, I don't have that big of a handle on this and this, but just knowing you throughout the times, that was something that you had a lot of knowledge on. And so I wanted to know, how would you say to share that with the next generations? Because a lot of us didn't necessarily get that. It wasn't handed down to us, and then some had to learn it the hard way. And some of us had to do that, learn it the hard way. But in teaching the next generation, what's the best ways you feel like to teach them about money and things like that?
Well, one thing is one of the things that I'll teach them is not to be afraid to save and not to be afraid to spend, both in the both aspects. And I know that's like conflicting. One, you have to save something in order to spend something. And you can't spend all your money on, like I used to tell my son, and this basically dates back to Dave Ramsey and understanding the envelope system when I kind of went through that class. And it was about him saving. If you got $20 in a car, the toy car he wanted cost $20. Guess what? You don't have nothing left.
Okay.
So why don't you save that $20 and then you work and make some money? If it's just cleaning up around the house, doing some chores that doesn't, like, not your chore. Make up your mom's bed, or go help her in the kitchen doing some extra duties that you don't do to earn a few more dollars. And then that's where you may say, if you got that $20 and you made $10 more, and you add that 10 to it, and then that toy car is still $10. But if you're still saving that extra 10, now you got $30. But it's about a principle of teaching to save, but you can still get what you want. So you got to save in order to get what you want, because what I try to teach my kids, I don't care what they come out with, it's always going to be something you want. Always.
Okay.
It's going to always be something out there you want, but you got to learn to be patient enough to get it. And you got to have a system about getting it. And when you get it, guess what? You still got something left to do something else with. And that's just basically the situation. And my middle son, he was always showing like more of entrepreneurship. And honestly, he's like FBLA. He likes the business side of things. And like him, I could see him selling candy, but he saves his money, and he'll go and he'll buy something, but he's cheap. There's nothing wrong with being stingy and cheap with yourself at times, but you only live once. So I don't ever want my kids to feel like they can't have something because they got to always save, always save. That's where I think that behavior becomes where you end up being a spender, a free spirit, and always want to spend and never have anything. But you got to look at it at the point of, I can save and spend as well and get what I want. So you just got to be able to know how to do it. And with my kids, that's what I always try to tell them. Always remember, they're going to always come out with something you're going to always want. You're going to get one thing, and like the cell phones is a perfect example. Every year they're coming out with a different cell phone. And you can't keep up with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We'll never have money. And unfortunately today, it's a sad situation. The cell phones.
Ooh, that iPhone 10, Tamika. Oh, my word. I said absolutely not. That is a mortgage for somebody. That is
But what makes me mad is the fact that we can go out and we can go and pay every month for a phone, an extra $40 or extra $50 a month just to have this particular phone that's going to be outdated
the next year. Yes, in one baby. I mean, it literally, I said, I know they came out with the 10, but I just feel like it'll be something else for Christmas.
Yes.
This year.
It makes me so mad because when my grandmother used to tell me, if you don't save nothing but $5, put away something. And I never understood that until here now. So even with me doing hair, I try to save something out of, try to put back something. Not all the time am I able to, no, because the kids are so active and you got to pay for this, you got to pay for that to get in this, sell that, and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you got to have something to fall back on. You have to.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to teach my son. And it's like all the cell phones. And I was telling my daughter this, my stepdaughter. I was like, it's amazing how much you'll put into a cell phone, but you don't have any other money to fall back on.
Yeah.
You should not have to borrow gas money. I don't care what nobody says.
Yeah.
You got to use your car to get back and forth to work to make money. The cell phone should be the first priority to get it.
Come on now. Yeah, they can talk about me all they want to. I still got my Samsung. And it's a Samsung. I think it's a 6. I don't care. I don't, because it needs to ring. I need to be able to text if I need to, get my emails as I need to, and record whatever else I need to do. But I'm like, I don't, and I guess you get to that phase. I'm sure we were in our phase. We think about now, of course, with the generation now. That is kind of the thing, the new gadgets, the whatevers. But for us, I'm sure our parents would say it was something else. So it is what it is. But for me, I just can't see it. I can't see purchasing that.
Yep.
A phone, and that's just me. But that's not my jam, so to speak. So it is for some, that is for some. It's something else. I'm sure that I would get that people would say, they may say, we don't like that, and it's something that I do like. So to each his own, but I definitely thank you for sharing that, though, because I do believe, just like you said, what your grandma said, which, they tend to give those pearls of wisdom, with saving, to put something to the side, and save for what you want. It makes sense, and sometimes it sounds easier said than done. I guess if you don't have something left over, someone may say, well, they just don't, but then, it's kind of like you have to find a way, even if it's 5 cents,
Yeah.
I think it's possible. And I don't know if you saw this movie. This is a side note, but it's dealing with the money factor, because she saved like $20,000. But have you seen Roxanne? Or you heard about the movie? So with Roxanne, the movie, of course, is about the legendary hip hop pioneer, female rapper Roxanne Shante.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to spoil with the movie, but her mom saved basically like $20,000 and they lived in the projects, they lived in Queensbridge projects. But the mom's she told the different jobs that she did to save it. And I'm like, if it's possible, she just said, her motivation was she said, I'll do anything for my babies, and she wanted to move to a home, but through the years, that's what she saved. So that was amazing to me. But that was in the 80s.
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, it was huge. I was just like, whoa. So that was pretty deep. But yeah. But okay. Well, we're gonna move to our segment, and it's as it relates to mother-daughter bonds. And like I said earlier, I'm a published author, so I'm super excited about that. And the book, is entitled "This Relationship Matters," and it's 7 keys to building healthy mother-daughter bonds. And it is really told from a mother's perspective. And so I'll share one of the reviews at least, and it talks about, I found Humphrey's book an inspiring read that will no doubt bring mothers and daughters closer together. It's fitting for relationships looking for where to start, or for those seeking to grow stronger. And one of the first key is what I really wanted to touch on, and I kind of wanted to get your take on it. And the first one is where the title is "Love Her." It all starts with you, self-love. And I want to read just a kind of an excerpt and get your thoughts on the excerpt, okay?
Okay.
All right, so it starts with, "This journey of loving me is evolving every day. Within recent years, I decided to intentionally take the time to love myself again unapologetically. Prior to making that decision, I felt like I forgot the natural instinct of loving me because I was so consumed with pretending like everything was okay to uphold a strong image, people pleasing because I did not want to disappoint, and serving others in several ways before I served myself. I was simply existing for a long time. Then one day, my truth disrupted my journey, and I was forced to look at what I allowed to manifest in my life." And so I wanted to kind of get your take on that excerpt of it.
Well, I thought you were talking about me for a minute.
Oh, look! That's what's up. That's true. That's a true statement. See, that's embracing your truth. See what I mean? No.
Yes, it is, because one thing I found myself doing things that make everybody happy, but at the end of the day, I was wondering, what did I get out of it?
Yeah.
Now, one thing I could tell you, as far as like, I love helping. I enjoy helping, and when it's a situation where I can help and make somebody smile, it makes me smile, and I feel like I did get something out of it. But one thing that I learned over the years, I always put myself in a situation where I was doing so much for others, giving so much to others, and finding myself getting frustrated, not getting anything back.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to realize, and even telling my kids, this situation, I have to start trying to put myself in what I call a two-way relationship. It's two people involved. If I'm involved and you're involved, let's make each other happy, basically. Mm-hmm. And I'm very vocal about it now, but at one time I was not, and I pretty much was getting ran over and let people just take advantage of me. And now, as I've gotten older, I gotta get some happiness out of what I do, as well as whether it's for someone else or not, and even with my kids.
Yeah.
I got to get some happiness out of it because, one thing I came to realize is that we have one life to live. Yeah. And if I was laying on my sick bed, when I reflect that, what would I reflect back on? Would I be happy with it? Would I be content? And everything. So I guess those were the things that I had to look at and start loving me for me and being happy with me. And if I wasn't happy with me, if I wasn't loving me, how can someone else love me?
Right. No,
and
that's
so
good.
And even with just not even someone else, I just had to make sure that I knew that I deserved to be happy. I deserved, and no one was in control of that but me.
Come on now.
No matter how much I put out, I got to be happy with what I'm putting out. And that it's got to be something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And not just for someone else all the time. And so that's the thing as far as like when you were saying that, I just found myself for the majority of my life so far, it was just that I was doing for others, always just wanting them to be happy. And no matter how much I put myself out, and I would find myself in situations that's so complicated that I couldn't even explain.
Right.
Because I didn't think about myself. I didn't think about the consequences. I didn't think about the repercussions of the situation. I just did it, because someone else asked me, and that saying no, it's still hard nowadays. It's still hard, but I have to stop and ask myself, I have to ask myself, is it worth me being in a situation that I can't get out of?
Yeah. And
so it's hard,
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask you, we definitely, of course, if someone asks you, do you feel that self-love is important, that definitely would be something that we'll say, yeah, because, that's the answer. But in those instances, just like you said, where you found yourself like even the saying no or giving to others, because it's okay to give, but there's always a balance, But I wanted to know, with that behavior, where do you feel like you learned that from? Or was it something that you took on, or you feel like that's something that you learned through watching others that were in your village and in kind of in your circle as you were growing up?
What did I learn? Being one to please everybody.
Yes, and I know with girls, I guess like people pleasing. Some people say not, but I think at some stages with girls, that's something that I don't know if we're taught that or if that's kind of it. But I hear that in a lot of it goes. When I talk with women, say our peers, that's something of what they'll say here and there. That's the people pleasing was something that they had to deal with.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, actually, a few years ago, after I got divorced, I went to therapy, and I felt like, my kids my sons had never had a man in the house or whatever. And then just for the short time that I was married, him being, you know, a man being in the house and then not all of a sudden he's gone. I felt like we all needed to get some therapy to make sure that they weren't carrying any type of feelings, and they weren't, you know, just to have a healthy start from the end of the marriage, basically. And when I spoke to the therapist, she basically pointed out something to me that when I was molested as a young girl, I was groomed. It basically groomed me to a certain degree. Okay. And the relationship that I had with my mother wasn't a great relationship. And over the years, that situation of me being molested groomed me to a certain way to be passive. Okay. And so with that being, that was something that she said to me, and and I took that not at her word, but just a situation as a pointer to look at, and I just recall being able to not want to make my mom upset, not making my mom mad with me. I didn't want her to be mad. And not just about the molestation thing, because the molestation thing, I was just really scared to talk about it. Didn't know what the outcome was going to be. Just basically scared. But even with my mom being, being a single mother herself, we never had a relationship where she talked to me a lot. So it was just certain things. I just want her to be happy with me all the time, and just, you kind of pine for love, and it becomes a habit. It just becomes a habit that you're looking for that love. So you don't want them mad with you, of course. Right. You did this wrong with that wrong. But it's something that just kind of developed by a situation. And with my situation, it was just like my mom, it was just she and I. And with it just being just us two, she was in her own little world, but I used to want her attention. And so I wouldn't do anything to upset it, so you end up finding yourself kind of looking for things that'll make them happy with you. And I think that ended up being that the situation how I got into it, being always saying yes, and no, you don't want nobody mad. Like even with my cousins, it was something like if it's a toy, you don't want them to play with it, but you find yourself saying yes anyway. Yeah. Because you don't want them to be mad with you. Yeah. And it just actually it's just it become habitual and with everyone. Yeah. Because once you let them have it, then guess what? They're happy. Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's an unfortunate situation. Right. So you do feel like pretty much it was learned because of just starting kind of with mom, but just like you said too, with the situation that you went through, being violated. Yes, and and it's like, now she gotta be mad. She gonna be mad with me. It just is a bad situation. But you find yourself like you. I was growing up as the only. I grew up as the only child, and with me being the only child, there was no one around all the time to talk to or play with and all that. So I had my mom, and I definitely didn't want her mad with me. Right. Every time, so yeah, it's just one of those things you don't realize it till you get older, and you look back and like, why did I do that? Yeah. So. Now, why do you feel like with your mom in that instance, why do you feel like she was so angry? Because I felt like my mother was misunderstood. She also went through some things. She and her mom relationship wasn't the best. Okay. And there's some things that they didn't have the best relationship. And I think and not only my mom, but the support of when my mom went through some stuff with my dad or whatever, and she didn't get the support that she probably felt like she should have gotten from her mother. Okay. Oh, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty deep. And
have you been able to make amends with your mom?
Before she passed, not really, because it was after she passed that I started understanding some things.
Okay.
But, I prayed and asked God for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And, in learning, in knowing, going through the things that I went through with my mom or whatever the case may be, I feel like that helped me to be the person who I am. And it also helped me be the mother that I am to my kids.
Okay. So you flipped it, and instead of, because it could be another end of the spectrum where people tend to take certain things on and become a victim about it, and it becomes their life story. And not that you don't own the story, don't get me wrong, I don't mean that. What I mean is kind of that the excuse as to why not being able to go to another level. And it's like you can take the victim part, or you can be the victor and own it, because it's a part of your story. But it doesn't have to become what you repeat on a consistent basis as to why you didn't reach this level, or even become an overachiever. Like you were saying, even with your baby, with I think you being able to hear her when she said, "Don't try to make me be you or try to make me be something else." That's huge, because not all kids can do that. They really can't express it. And I hear it all the time. They're not really able to express that and say, this is, can you hear me? Not just you tell me what to do, but are you listening to what I'm saying? To some parents, and definitely with the mother-daughter bond, just in different conversations I've had with different people, it really is a very complex relationship. And, we desire, of course, for those relationships to be healthy, but certain patterns we have to recognize if they're not healthy, and know what they are so we don't pass it down. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So that's kind of that's why the dialogue, I love to hear different people talk about it. And sometimes, just in talking about it, it helps them to see it. And just like you said, you witnessed it and learned more about it maybe when after your mom passed. But it's like at least you're learning it because you do have those gems that you're responsible for in sowing into their lives so that they can become better and grow to become, strong, healthy women. So absolutely. Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you a series of questions. This is kind of our fun segment where our audience gets to know more about our guest. And so are you ready?
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, what book most influenced you?
What book most influenced me?
Yes.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. What book most influenced me? You caught me off guard with that one.
Oh my!
I want to say, gosh, I have a couple of them, but I want to say, what her name is, what did I say? Okay, what her name is, the yes, she's like,
Shonda Rhimes.
Oh my God.
The Year of Yes.
No, the lady, okay, I can't think of her name right now, but I will say this one. It's one other book. It's called what is the name of the book? I can't think of none of them now. You caught me off guard with it. It's called it's a book about being a woman and knowing being
You want to come back?
Okay.
Look, somebody.
Yeah, we have to come back.
We can come back.
Like,
you gonna get it. You gonna get it. Okay.
I am deadlocked on those. I apologize.
No, you're fine. What keeps you grounded?
My family, my children, honestly.
Okay. All right. What are
my children.
Perfect. What are the 3 qualities that got you where you are today?
Honestly, love, faith, and laughter.
Okay. What question do you wish more people would ask you?
That I wish they would ask me more.
Yes.
How you really doing?
What'd you say, for real? Look.
Yes, how you really doing?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask you that. How are you really doing?
I hanging in there, but it gets hard at times. But I am hanging in there because people ask you how you doing, but they don't take time out to really
Wait a minute. What'd you say?
They ask, but I don't really think they want to know. Right. I think that's just a common question.
It is.
But how you really doing?
For real. Right.
Yeah.
No, that seems like that's the common thing these days. I think, and even as it's kind of, you get past the whole hello part, but then you go into how you doing, but you really want that surface answer. That's the norm of people. They just want you to be like, oh, I'm great. Because you get into explaining anything that's outside of their agenda, and they're not trying to, I got stuff to do. Like, I ain't really mean that like that. I just wanted you to answer quick so I could keep moving. Yeah, that's almost like one of the new please and thank yous. Like, you're supposed to say, how are you doing? How are you?
Yes.
And then
yes, how you really doing? Not just how you doing, but how you really doing.
That's good. What is the last thing you binge watch?
I binge watch.
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness. Oh, really? I binge watched this show called Baby Daddy.
Okay.
Yeah, Maya was watching it, and my son started watching it, and he had me and Maya watching it. And I mean, that's not even something I really would watch. I don't even watch TV a lot, but that was something I just started binge watching.
Okay. Good. Well, what is something that every woman should try once in her lifetime?
Something she should try once in her lifetime. That's a hard one. Something she should try once in her lifetime. I can't. That's a hard one.
Okay.
That's a hard one.
Okay, we're gonna come back to that one and the book. Yeah, so just be thinking about it.
Book,
so look,
I got the book.
You got the book. You got the book.
Joyce Meyer.
Okay.
Joyce Meyer.
Okay.
Something about people pleasing.
Okay.
That book.
I think
the other book that I was talking about, the one that was Fascinating Womanhood. Now, Fascinating Womanhood is a book about. It was a book about women, different types of women, and just kind of helps you identify some things within who you are, as far as a woman, and being the type of woman that you could be as far as for a husband, and understanding the marriage thing. Okay. So Fascinating Womanhood is a good book.
Cool. Okay. Well, what is advice you would give to a woman with a broken heart?
Honestly.
Oh my.
I mean, the advice that I would give to a woman with a broken heart is a lesson to be learned in every situation that we are part of. And just to take time out and find out what that lesson is.
That's good.
and capitalize on it.
Okay. What is a goal you want to achieve within the next 10 years?
The goal I would like to achieve in the next 10 years, honestly, well, the next 10 years is to get my daughter out the house. And, I mean, when I say get my daughter out the house, I'm talking about in college, if that's what she needs, that's what she's supposed to be. But being, really, just as far as a mom, that's my last one. And my goal is to make sure that her education, that she's well educated and it don't fail, seriously. Because she's 9 years old. And I want to make sure that I'm putting out a productive citizen.
Yeah.
That's really my goal for the next 10 years, because, the way I look at it, Tasha, I'm 45 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that I'm old, but I feel like when I made a decision to have children, then some of the things that I want to do as far as big, major things, and a lot of people wouldn't agree with me, but I put them on the back burner for the 3 lives that I brought into this world, to help mold them to be the citizens that they need to be, so they can survive in this world. So my goal is to equip her with what she needs as far as education to be successful and productive in this world, seriously.
Now, I want to ask you a question on that, just kind of a follow-up to that, because in our culture, and I was listening to a gentleman, his name is Dr. Umar, and I'll have to send you the link so you can kind of hear, and with the information, as always, anything you listen to, you eat the fish, spit out the bones. But one of the things that it stood out was how in our culture, we are raised to be strong, as it relates to women. In a lot of ways, like, we're raised to be strong, and kind of the comparison was like to even other races. That's not how the women are raised necessarily. And I get it. I know we do have to have kind of where we have to be strong in a lot of ways because of a lot of the injustices that may be here, or even stereotypes or things like that. But there should be a balance, right? With anything. I just think anything needs a balance. And so do you feel like we're focusing more on raising our girls to be strong and not necessarily giving them that emotional, mental support that they need? Because emotions, as I've matured, and excuse me really quick, but emotions, I've learned that they're a little different. Like, when I say I have a prayer and just something I say every day, and I think about being blessed spiritually, mentally, socially, financially, physically, emotionally, like those are the areas. But when you really dig deep into what those areas are, I truly believe that if you're not emotionally stable, all those other areas have a space of just being this like instability. Like, it's not. Because emotion-wise, if you going on your feelings all the time by what you feel, that's not always the best. That's outside of having discernment. You know what I mean? Or intuition, or whatever someone would call it. But I'm just saying that the emotional part. So sometimes are we raising our girls, even for some of us, we were raised, you be strong, you be independent, you be this. But then emotion wise, maybe that's why some of the women, I see a lot different diagnoses, that they're being diagnosed with mental challenges. And so I guess I wanted to get your take on that. Like, even in raising your daughter, are you balancing that out for her? And giving, like, emotional wise?
Honestly, well, first of all, my daughter is very headstrong, but to answer your initial question, I do believe that there should be a balance in being strong and emotional, because we all need to know empathy. We all need to know when to love, it's just all that stuff. It just needs a balance to it. But to be strong and not have any type of emotion towards things. I don't think that's a very healthy way of being.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's one thing to. Okay, so what for me with my daughter, I would love to teach her to be well-rounded, to be strong, and not let someone that she's so dependent on things and people.
Mm-hmm.
She got to be able to be self-sufficient as well.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's certain situations she's going to be put in. She's got to know how to deal with it emotionally. She's got to know how to deal with it. I guess as you were talking, it made me think about my granddaughter's mother. I feel that, she, as far as I'm looking at her, she's not my daughter, but my son is dealing with her.
Right.
And there's certain things as a mom I want my son to do because she is a woman. She has feelings, but at the same time, I want her to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to my son, don't let him talk to you any kind of way. Don't make him think that you got to depend on him and all this, So, and I'm using that situation as an example because it's something that just came to my mind as you were talking to me.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about, even though I don't have right now, I teach my daughter certain things, but I want her to understand it's good to be strong, but at the same time, you got to, as people would say back in the day, you got to know your place. It's not knowing so much of knowing your place. It's knowing when to balance that strength and for your benefit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And some things you can't always be so strong where can nobody help you. You gotta be vulnerable. You got to have some type of vulnerability too.
Yes.
So it's got to be balanced out. So what I would love to teach my daughter is being strong and self-sufficient, but at the same time, know when you have to be vulnerable, because you got to be vulnerable on jobs at certain times. You can't just go in there and be headstrong and think you're going to take over these people's job and do what you got to do and what you want to do. Because, one thing I know is you'll be easily replaced.
and will be if you real quick. And I joke, but I say it. I told some people recently, I said in Alabama now, especially in Alabama, I'm like, it's an at will situation. So you can leave or they can let you go. So which one, at least if you leave on your own, you possibly got, I would hope, you have something else to actually go to. But if they let you go, that's a kind of a, hey, it's a different situation. So no, but definitely there is a balance with it. But I started to realize that more, how emotions really play a big part on decisions. That we've made. I can look when I've looked back at myself, because I was looking at myself really in different things, and I said certain decisions when they were made that probably weren't the best. It had something to do with how I felt. It wasn't really thinking through the process necessarily, or thinking through the situation. Sometimes it was you felt like this, or this is what you felt, and it's okay to have a feeling, but I just say see on the other side of that what it could look like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like go through a process. So yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, well, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food, right now is steak.
Okay.
I'm going to change that. So my goal is to not necessarily be vegan, but cut out a lot of the meat.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what did you have an answer to that advice? Well, not to give to a broken heart, but what is something a woman should try once in her lifetime? Did you have an answer for that?
Once in her lifetime.
Yes.
Once once in her lifetime. Oh my goodness. No, I don't.
Okay. Well, that's real. Well, let's go to this one. What superpower would you like to have?
Superpower. Be invisible.
Okay. Look, just switch to it.
As soon as somebody come to me, talking about mama.
Oh, how fun that would be. How fun that would be. Like, where did she go? Like, what? Oh, my. That would be too. Like, Mama, I know you still here. That's what they'll say. Mama, I know you still here. Okay. Well, what would a perfect day for you look like?
A perfect day for me would be, oh my God, a day that's sunny, not too hot, with a nice little breeze, and I'm on the beach, and I'm just marveling at God's creation.
All right.
With no interruption. Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
I mean, serious. Because it's amazing to see the water roar come back and forth, and it's just like, how in the world
is that possible? Yes. You know, I mean, it is amazing. It's amazing just to see all the body, how it stays where it's supposed to, you know, and it's just it's amazing. Oh, and while we're talking about water, I don't know, did you know we're having a cruise coming up in October? Did you hear about it?
No.
Okay, so we have a cruise coming up. May 10th is the first payment, but October the 10th, October 11th through the 15th are the cruise dates while we're talking about that. Good stuff. That was a good segue into that. You ain't even know. Thank you. So I wanted to go ahead and share some information. So we're going to take a quick moment just for me to share, and you'll go ahead and grab up this information, but I'll definitely send it to you. I'll text it to you. Information, but it's called This Relationship Matters Cruise, and it's our inaugural cruise, and we plan to do this at least once a year. And so we'll have different activities and itinerary for the ship itself, like on the ship. But we're going to Cozumel, Mexico. And and so Quentin, his name is Quentin Carter, and he's with Better Living Travel, and he's going to be our agent. He's our travel agent for this time, and so his number, just for people who want to get that information, it's 256-337-1987. And once again, Quentin Carter is his name. Better Living Travel. 256-337-1987, and it's called This Relationship Matters Cruise to Cozumel, Mexico. And the first $25 deposit per person is due on May the 10th, and then there's a pay schedule thereafter. But you can go to our website also at www.florapearlfoundation.org/upcoming events to get more information. And so I definitely, Tamika, I'll definitely send that to you to share. But with it, this will be our first year doing a cruise, and we definitely gonna have some fun on there. So even some people, they're gonna come with their families, but it really will be a women, girl, just kind of women and girls and mother-daughter type of event. Like we'll have some different activities and things to do. So. While we're out there. But yeah, so that's going to be like a fall type of break from the normal routine. So yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you could talk to one person from history, who would it be and why? And that's our last one for this segment.
Talk to a person through history. Honestly, it'd be Madam C.J. Walker.
Okay. All right. And why?
Kind of get some ideas of when it comes to hair, what was her inspiration, and what I would love to know what inspired her, what was the most intriguing thing that kept her going about it, and and what made her just step off into what she believed in about hair.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to move into the segment as it relates to community service. And so, with community service, it definitely is a major part of our organization, and just being a giver, that's been the core of who I am as a person. And I also saw my grandmother, Flora Pearl, do a lot of that within the community. And so I wanted you to share with our audience different ways that you have served the community as it relates to community service.
Well, with me doing hair, providing certain styles for my clients. Sometimes they get under the weather, financially challenged. I try to give back to them that way, and also I just really started within the last year working with a mentoring program.
Cool. And what program is that?
The mentoring program with Impact
Cool.
Family Counseling.
Awesome. That's great. And I wanted to move into our faith segment, and so I wanted you to share. This basically is a time to encourage our audience. You never know who's listening, and as it relates to their faith, sometimes people are going through things, but they don't always know how to come through it, or what steps it took, or just the fact that they're not alone. And so I wanted you to share a time when your faith has been tested and how you came through it.
As you know, I lost my mother in 2001, and then I think it was 4 years later I lost my grandmother. And my grandmother was basically she helped me out a lot with my two sons. And I didn't realize that it was amazing how I look back now, how God was setting things up and putting people around me, placing people in my life to help me through those times. And as I look back, I see how at one time I depended a lot on my grandmother. But I saw myself slowly moving away, not so much away from her, but just away from the depending on her to help me with my son. And he planted people around me to help me with this and help me with that. And when she when she passed away, it was almost like I didn't miss a beat. I used to be able to kind of like save up, and she was in a hospital. And I had money saved, and I found myself spending up more money because I wasn't cooking. I was going back and forth to the hospital a lot and spending money going into the parking garage at Brookwood Hospital. And so the little money I had saved up kind of dwindled away really quick. And I remember having my phone, my water bill and my phone bill, it was like a month ahead. And I was like, so I lost all that, that when I was ahead of things. But I had people in my life that helped me out. And my faith was challenged for a minute because I'm like, what in the world? Because, you kind of get blindsided by situations. But me saying that, God placed people in your life and you don't even realize those people are there if you could just, stop and they lend a hand and help you keep you from falling. And even though I didn't have to necessarily ask for a lot of financial help, but they were there. They actually helped me financially. Little did I know it, because I didn't have to miss work because I didn't have anybody to keep my kids, or just little things like that matter.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes you're like, oh, God, my grandmother's dead and she helped me with the kids. Now who's going to do it? But I didn't realize that I was building relationships. It was actually when I moved out here to Leeds, and I moved in the salon that I was in out here. The people who were surrounding me, they helped me with my kids. They'll go pick them up from school or, keep them, or whatever the case may be. They was just volunteering to help. And at one time, you know, you kind of feel a little reservation, but I went on and allowed it, you know, and did it, and not knowing that my grandmother was going to pass away. And when she passed away, you know, those same people were there, and it's almost like I didn't miss the beat, you know. And I love my grandmother, miss my grandmother dearly, but it helped me transition, you know, with that loss, and knowing that everything is going to be all right.
Now, was that your paternal or your maternal grandmother?
My maternal.
Okay, so your mom's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, definitely with that, I know that someone will be blessed by that, and knowing that, because what I heard you saying too was it was in preparation, but just those relationships, and it goes back to what we were saying before, just that support system, that tribe is what I call it, that village, you know, that it matters that we know we're not alone, and that there are people that are there. I had to say that recently to a good friend, or she's a sister friend, and I just said, I know you can handle it on your own, but we're here, you know. And sometimes it takes like even just having that conversation that you just know, or that text, or that whatever that lets you know that I'm not by myself. So that's really good stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're moving into our closing segment, and it's called Matters of the Heart Moment. And so the first question is, if you had the opportunity to speak to your 4-year-old self or your younger self, what would you say to her?
My younger self, I would talk to her more about confidence.
Okay.
Being confident. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who inspires you?
Who inspires me?
Yes.
Let's see. For one, believe it or not, you're very inspiring. And for me, the way you dealt with people, and being as articulate as you are, you know, and that's one of the reasons why when I told you about that I felt like you need to get out there and people need to hear you.
Yeah.
I don't think you realize how much you can inspire people and really turn the light on for people, especially young ladies.
Yeah. And I have to say this really quick, like with that, it's, you know how you hear things, and I thank you, sister. Like you, I didn't get a chance, I guess, like us, because we don't get a chance to talk all the time, and we're just gonna have to make more time. I know we have our lives and we do different things, but even if it's once every whatever, that we just make some time to get together, and I'm like, you know, if I had to come out where you at. But there's some things you've done for me through the time, just in your thoughts and just your words towards me, that have helped on days like when you didn't know that it came back up to me, because you would say that about being an inspiration, you know. And
and I didn't want your audience to think that I was tooting your horn.
No,
I mean, seriously, you were always so deep, you know. And you were always so deep, and I was like, I don't think she realized like what she has, you know, like really.
And you know why sometimes too, and I have to be real with it, because when you're with you, it almost feels like I'm on a journey now of reading the Bible. I want to do it within a year, and so I have this track of just, you know, we read the morning read, the evening read.
Sorry.
No, oh no, you're fine. You're fine. But I'm on a track of, you know, with reading the Bible, and so you read about different people in the Bible, and certain things that I don't want to say that they go through. And a lot of times when you see yourself though, and you're kind of with you every day, you tend to see flaws, or you can listen to the wrong voice to say, you know, who's going to listen to you? Like, how can God use you? And that would be at different times. I would have to fight through that stuff. And I never profess to be perfect or anything like that. I'm like, you know, because he's like, I can use whomever. It's just a willing vessel. But I thought I had to be in order to be used by him in a lot of ways. So it's kind of like you don't really know what you have until he sends different people your way to confirm it. And even that you get in touch with you. Like you really begin to own who you are and be okay with it. Like, and if other people can't get it or they don't like it or whatever the case may be, like, that's not your problem. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like owning that. So I just appreciate you for even sharing that just now. I appreciate hearing it. And I know the audience will as well. And it so wasn't anything like, you know, that I knew that was coming. I'm just like, wow, you know, but you've always said, you know, you're an inspiration. And I just begin to own that, sister, like more than I ever have in my life. I think before I was doing what felt right, and encouraging people or sharing or inspiring people. That's just something that, like you talk about being a giver, that's just what I do. And a lot of times I felt like it may have been done and people maybe didn't appreciate it or whatever. But still, it's no way for me to stop. Like I still have to keep pushing. I have to forgive them and keep going and forgive myself for things that I may have allowed and just keep going. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, yes, I'm grateful to be, you know, on the journey, and I'm just grateful for it. So thank you, though, for sharing that. That meant a lot to me.
Yes, ma'am. You're very welcome, because I do appreciate those talks that we used to have all the time.
I know, right?
Yes.
Wow. Well, is there, you know, any last minute piece of advice that you want to share?
Yeah. You know, and that basically, don't be afraid to take time out with yourself.
That's good.
And getting to know what it is that makes you you, makes you tick. And, you know, it's just taking some time with yourself. And, I mean, we get caught up in the hustle and bustle of the cell phones, social media, just doing this and doing that. But we don't, you know, just take time out for just us.
Yeah.
You know, just reflecting on us, where we've been, where we are, and just being grateful. Yeah. Even if it was a bad thing. Because sometimes, you know, like even when I went through the things that I went through, and everything wasn't bad, but it helped me. And I can't just like sit and be victimized by my situation. Right. You know, a lot of this wasn't what I wanted. It may have not, and I don't live in a house with a white picket fence around it. I don't have the luxury car, all that kind of stuff, but I'm thankful for what I have. And sometimes I sit back and I just reflect on situations that happened, where I've been, what I've been through, and where I am now. And, you know, even if I'm going through something bad, even if it's a bad point, I still thank God for it. And I'm looking for that end of it, you know, to come out of it. And being able to share with somebody, I went through something, but here I am now. And I'm grateful. Yeah. That's good, so, Tamika. Yeah, we have to take time out and just, you know, because if you don't take time out and think and reflect on you, then how in the world can you share it with somebody to help somebody else with it? Right. No, that's good. Yeah. That's good. Awesome.
Well, Tamika, we definitely want to thank you so much for being with us today. You definitely have shared and dropped some gems today that I know will bless so many people. And so I just appreciate you for being here. So thank you again.
You're very welcome, Tasha. And again, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And our goal at the Flora Pearl Foundation is to always be a blessing to all of those that we come in contact with by operating with the spirit of excellence. We want to thank you all so much for listening today. And you can visit our website at www.florapearlfoundation.org. We look forward to spending time with you all, and we will talk to you soon.